got this deal to stay at an old house over Christmas from a friend of a friend none of us seemed to know. Ravencroft Mansion, a classic old Victorian by the Maine coast overlooking the Atlantic. Driving up, the house gave off this serious Stephen King vibe. The big bay windows were like eyes, watching me come up the drive lined with overgrown boxwood. There were 8 stone steps that led to the double front door. On the side of the door, there hung a medieval bell pull that released this loud, gloomy clang through every creepy corner of the house. You know, like those classic vampire movies. And that garden had been locked up since 1918, like it was frozen in time. As I passed it slowly in the car, I saw this faded sign hanging off the paint-peeling door of the garden wall, "Do not enter." I was the first of our group to arrive. The rest were supposed to get there by train the following day. And we would get ready for Christmas. Or so I thought. The house seemed to groan as I walked in, and I felt like I'd stepped into a dreadful era. The place was massive and dead silent. I lugged in our Christmas stuff, tree, food, you name it. We were way out from any town, but the old place felt, I don't know, alive somehow. Unpacking in the kitchen, with no phone signal and only the crackling fire and radio for company, I started to relax a bit. The sun had set. I heated up some packaged dinner that I got from Trader Joe's, poured myself a glass of Merlot. All of a sudden, the house's ancient bell started to ring. The metallic hammering sounds vibrated from the gut of the house. I was startled, for I wasn't expecting anyone, but thinking perhaps it was the owner of the house checking in. I opened the front door. No one. I stepped outside of the house to look around. Nothing. Okay, I have to admit, I was a little spooked. The night was pitch black and totally silent. No footsteps walking away, no car in the distance. As I was heading back to the house, I saw it. Perhaps 30 to 40 bats were dangling upside down from under the gutter just under the front of the house. As I carefully stepped back into the house, some of the bats started to flap their wings and flew around. Returning to the kitchen, I tried to settle my nerves with the remnants of my dinner, and more wine, yes. I went to bed. I could hear the sound of the ocean, eerily soothing. In the thick of the night, a new sound emerged, a soft, rhythmic tapping from the attic above. It was methodical, deliberate, and utterly out of place. It seemed to grow louder, more insistent, as if begging me to go up to visit. Could it be the wind or an animal? I remembered the bats. I was caught between curiosity and fear. Then I thought, curiosity could wait, at least till the rest of the gang got here. I pulled the covers over my head and pretended I didn't hear anything. My eyes stayed wide open, waiting for the sun to come up. Lucky for me, it did. It was December 21st, winter solstice, the shortest day of the year. My friends would be arriving shortly, and I was about to go pick them up at the train station. Coffee, check. Car keys, check. Jacket, on. Should I check out the attic? Of course I should. The air seemed to grow colder as I climbed up the narrow staircase, leading to a cramped corridor lined with peeling wallpaper and creaky floorboards. Reaching the attic room, I pushed open the slightly open door with a sense of trepidation. The room was bare, except for an old washstand, a clothes rail, and a surprisingly detailed nativity scene set in the corner. It stood about 2 feet tall, carefully crafted with a personal touch. Despite that, it was really worn out. I felt drawn to the nativity. Its figures, the animals, shepherds, and a figure resembling Joseph, were all meticulously placed. But something was off. The crib was there, yet it was empty, and there was no sign of Mary. I decided I should bring the scene downstairs, thinking it might make the house more festive. As I stuffed the figures into my pockets, a chill enveloped me. the room suddenly feeling even more claustrophobic. I quickly got back downstairs without getting the rest. I left Ravencroft to pick up my friends from the train station. The road, winding along the rugged coast, was desolate. The gulls' cries overhead were the only sounds piercing the quiet. The station was just a simple shelter. There was no information board, nothing. I checked my phone. No signal. The train finally pulled up and stopped. The conductor stepped out, and none of the doors were opened. I went up to talk to the conductor. "I'm meeting my friends. They're supposed to be on this train." He shook his head. "Nope, train's empty. No one on board. No other trains were coming through until tomorrow." I was confused. Had they got off at the earlier stop? Did something go wrong? I checked my phone again. Still no signal. I was beginning to worry. Driving back, the snow began to fall. I pulled the car over for a moment to enjoy the scenery. I looked out. Oh, what's that? Two figures walking towards the Ravencroft. Could they be Josh and Sabrina? Did they decide to drive here after all? Nah. The second figure was more like a child. The pair was more like mother and child. Why were they walking to the house? I arrived back and it was dark. No signs of those two mysterious figures. I dreaded another night alone in this house. Heated up more Trader Joe's. Got myself something stronger to drink. Yep, scotch. I looked at the wooden figures I'd brought down from the attic. I should go back up to the attic to get the rest of the nativity. What? Now? After dark? You're an idiot. I found myself slowly walking up the stairs to the attic again. The stairs creaked at every step. I turned the light on. The single bulb gave out a sad, dim light. I opened the door and walked in. Did I shut the door on the way down earlier? I didn't remember doing that. I stood in the doorway for a moment, observing. Washstand, nativity, clothes rail, all there. Wait a minute. On the clothes rail was a child's dress. I didn't notice that before. Strange. I walked further into the attic and bent over to pick up the rest of the nativity. Just as I had it all in my arms, the light went out. Hello? Hello? Who's there? I could feel someone's breathing, more like wheezing. I didn't want to turn around because whoever, or whatever it is behind me. I tried to steady myself. Deep breath. I slowing walked towards the edge of light coming up downstairs. No, don't look back. At the doorway, I heard a footstep behind me following me. I panicked and lost my balance. I put out a hand to steady myself. My hand gripped something wet. The clothes rail, the dress. The dress was wet. Why? I didn't have time to think. My heart was overbeating. Old house. It's just an old house. Don't panic. It was probably my aloneness that made me nervous. Oh, but you're not alone, are you? Shit. I managed to get back downstairs with the dress in my hand, my heart still beating fast. I needed a drink. I poured myself another shot of scotch. I told myself it had been nothing at all. It was all my overactive imagination. I draped the wet dress over the kitchen sink to dry. It was only 8 p.m. I decided to arrange the nativity. Donkey, camels, wise men, shepherds, stars, Joseph. No baby Jesus. No Mary. My phone beeped. A text message from Sabrina. Trying to call you. Must leave tomorrow. I quickly pressed call, but nope, no signal. They had been delayed, that was all. Everything would be just fine tomorrow. Suddenly, I felt a great sense of relief. I went to bed and fell deep asleep when I heard it clearly. Above me from the attic, footsteps, pacing back and forth, stomped a few times. I lay in bed, eyes wide, staring at the ceiling. I kept telling myself, I don't believe in ghosts. I didn't sleep till daylight. When I woke up, it was already noon. I rushed to get ready to head over to the train station again to pick up Josh and Sabrina. In the kitchen, I saw that the dress that I draped over the sink was gone. Disappeared. At the station, I waited and waited. The train finally arrived. It was the same guard who got down. He saw me and shook his head. "There's no one," he shrugged. "I'm sorry." I couldn't believe it. I looked at the text message. It clearly said, "Must leave tomorrow." Then it dawned on me. Shit, does she mean I must leave tomorrow? Weather? Illness? Or was it a warning about the house? As I was driving back to Ravencroft, I had decided to leave. I just couldn't spend one more night in that house. I was thinking, all I had to do was to drive 80 miles and there was a motel that I could stay in for the night. It was only 5 and I could be there by 9 p.m. at the latest through the snow and the mountain. I quickly packed my bags, threw everything into the car, and I was ready to go. I turned the ignition key. The radio came on for a second, died. The ignition clicked and clicked. Oh, for Pete's sake. The car was fine 2 hours ago, even if I had left the lights on, but I hadn't left the lights on. I should have enough battery. Panic hit me. I couldn't sleep in the car all night. I'd freeze to death. I don't want to die. So, back in the house. Damn it. What was I going to do all night? I sure as hell wasn't going to sleep. I noticed some old books sitting on a dusty shelf. I sorted through them. I came across an old faded photo album. Sitting in by the kitchen table, I decided to take a peek at the past of this house. Ravencroft Mansion, 1912. I saw photos of a happy couple on their wedding day. Joseph and Mary. Then there was Joseph in military uniform dated 1917. Though I was determined not to fall asleep, I must have dozed off. At around 2 in the morning, I heard a child crying. It wasn't a cry from a scraped knee or a lost toy. It was the cry of an abandoned child. The type of cry that was desperate when it knew that no one was coming. A cry that was cold, lonely, frightened, and hungry. My heart wrenched. I didn't know what to do. Then the crying stopped. Silence. Dreadful. Footsteps were coming down the stairs from the attic. Not one foot in front of the other, but one foot dragging slightly, then the other joining it, steadying, stepping again. The footsteps paused at the end of the stairs. Then I knew it. They came towards the kitchen door. I could hear the breathing from whatever was standing on the other side of the door, 10 feet away. I picked up a knife, heart pounding, ready for anything. The door swung open with a violent gust, bringing in a whirlwind of snow. I saw that the front door itself was open. The chandelier swung wildly, its light casting grotesque shadows. I stood frozen, the cold biting at my skin. All the lights went out. Total darkness. Suddenly, the wind stopped. The crying stopped. Silence again. I walked out the front door into the night. I saw them, figures in the storm, a mother and child, their forms ethereal and shifting. I recognized the mother. She was Mary in the photo. The child was wearing the dress that disappeared from the kitchen. I heard it whisper, "Help me." Mary led me towards the walled garden with the "Do Not Enter" sign. She passed right through the wall. I entered the garden through the gate. Footprints in the snow led to a hidden door in the garden shed. Inside, the air was thick with the presence of something long gone, yet ever present. I noticed a cupboard behind the barricade of rusted garden tools. Mary looked at me with deep and sad eyes. She nodded at me, and I understood. She wanted me to open the cupboard door. I removed all the tools and opened the cupboard. A dusty soldier's uniform fell out. A full skeleton was still inside. At that moment, I realized that it was her husband, Joseph. I wasn't afraid anymore. Mary had wanted her husband's body to be found, to be buried properly. As the sun came up, casting a soft light on the snowy grounds, I knew my time at Ravencroft was almost over. The mansion had shown its true self and brought a peaceful feeling that had been missing for so long. The secrets of the past, finally acknowledged, could finally be put to rest. How Joseph's body was hidden in the cupboard remained a mystery.